What's up, guys? Ben here bringing you another video today. Call of Duty Next is happening today. I'm recording this on Thursday, and we'll be rolling out coverage of that and the beta starting tomorrow on this channel. But today I wanted to cover some Rostermania news from the last 24 hours. We got two different stories going on. ASIM leaving LAG. We're going to discuss where he's going and the team that he's going to and all that stuff. And we're also going to discuss a tweet from Crimsix and talk a little bit about his future. Let's dive in and discuss. All right, so yesterday night, LAG put out a tweet that they're officially parting ways with ASIM, and it's obviously a nice little thank you note. There's a lot of confusion on Twitter. You have outlets like Deserto tweeting out that he got released, but from my understanding, that's not exactly the story of what's going on here. I can back up what Donnie Temp talked about on his stream last night, in which he said ASIM to London. Two sources around the London camp back me up on this, that he has been bought out and he will be joining the London Royal Ravens for this season. But his teammate situation is a little bit interesting, so let's talk about it. So we obviously know that Trey is on the London squad. It seems like the rumors have him marked there, and from what I've heard, Nasty's also a part of that team. And as much as people I've seen on Twitter from tweets here like PAULEHX, I've also heard that Paul's on the team. Kind of reading between the lines on this tweet, I think I have sort of like two thoughts. One is, like, I would always take tweets like this with a grain of salt. You know, Paul's always tweeting stuff that's, I think, a little bit more farther on the emotional scale and less more on the fact scale. My guess of the situation, none of my sources on the London side can really confirm this. This is more of an educated guess on my part, is that he's still really trying to sort out, or the teams are trying to sort out, his move from the New York roster to the London roster. They're probably sorting out buyouts or lack thereof, and it's taking some time, and you know, they're not really in a rush to get it done. So my guess is Paul kind of feels like he's in a little bit in between the situation, but nothing I've heard coming out of either the New York or London camp makes me think this deal won't happen. So that will be your 4 for London. So on paper, I actually don't think this team is too bad. Yes, the ASIM Nasty sub duo wouldn't theoretically be the strongest sub duo in the league. I like the potential decision making from this squad. I like the selflessness, and it strikes me as a team that could theoretically get ahead a little bit early on in the game on the back of work ethic and teamwork. And I actually really like the PAULEHX Zero AR duo, and Paul can kind of go either way. Nas can go either way with guns, so I like the flexibility on the squad. If you look at their team last year, which netted around the same in terms of slaying numbers, like, this is the performance they put up, which candidly was not too bad. The issue with that London team, though, was that when they got to LAN, they played some of the better teams, they really struggled. And you had kind of the inverse, right? So Gizmo was really good in those online situations, and they were really solid when he was in the squad, but they'd get to LAN and some of that would fall off. And on the flip side, Nasty was a lot better when the game slowed down on LAN than he was online. So I really, overall, like, I don't think these are bad moves from London. If you're basically doing a similar roster from last year, and you're basically making a slight tweak to bring Paul back in, and you're basically swapping ASIM for Gizmo, I like the potential moves from London. You may say to yourself, okay, but what about some of those like really good EU amateurs that are coming up? Why are they not joining London? From my understanding, players like Wardy actually have already been cemented as subs on a team, so I think we'll be getting those announcements soon. Unfortunately, I don't think London is a team that Wardy will be joining. If I'm London, from a substitute standpoint, because as much as I like this roster, again, you need to protect yourself, be the general manager of this team if things go south. Honestly, there are probably a couple of players that they could take a flyer on that I think might kind of work well in this team situation. Taking a look at my player contract status tracker sheet, I think probably their two best options are going to be more flex-tiled players, but I think both can run second sub pretty well. So the first player I think would be a potential good sub option for this roster is Brezzy. I'm surprised his name hasn't been linked to more teams. He's obviously very fluent in English. He had a really good season last year. Obviously, they would need to secure a visa for him and all of that jazz, but I do like that potential option for London, and I don't think they would have a lot of competition to sign him. My other idea for this roster, and he's not listed there because he didn't play challengers last year, but he has some chemistry with players on this team. I could definitely see a world where London explore picking up Scraps as a substitute player on this roster. Again, Matty has teamed before with Zero and with ASIM back on Black Ops 4 on the FaZe Clan roster. I think there's upside to Matty, and there's not that much downside, especially if you're putting him in a substitute role. Give him some time to play some challengers and then get him into the lineup if you want to make a change. So I could see London going in that direction, and again, it gives them a little bit of clout bringing Matty in. I think a little bit of excitement to see him come back. So what do I think this potential lineup kind of nets? I think there's somewhere from the middle to the back of the league. I definitely think there's some ceiling and upside to this roster potentially. The thing for London, though, with this team that they need to overcome from last year is, again, more consistent performances once it moves to the pressure matches on LAN. That London team was skilled enough last year to hang with a lot of good teams, but when it came to the stress points, when it came to the pressure stuff, they crumbled at times. I think this roster, especially players like ASIM and Paul coming in who played on teams in similar situations and excelled last year, either making it to grand finals or winning events. I think they can bring some of that about them. And I like the move potentially here from London to go away from the full EU roster, bring in some NA mix and see if they can actually make a run at one of these events and maybe win an event. All right, let's talk a little bit about Crimsix. He tweeted this image out on Tuesday that he's got an announcement coming on Friday. Obviously, everybody loves the announcement of announcement gimmick and a lot of questions about what this is. I will tell you what it's not is I haven't heard a lot of rumors or really any rumors about Crimsix on any of potential CDL teams or substitute spots. That's not to say that something could happen down the line, but at the moment, he's not linked to any teams. It's making me think that this is more of a full-time content move, maybe more of a brand partnership thing. But at the moment for Crim, I don't think that he's attached to a CDL team. I talked about this on the flank in our last episode. I won't be surprised if Crim obviously moves to more of a full-time content role, but if the rumored first event this year is a Pro-Am and he's able to secure some decent teammates, maybe enter some cups and some qualifiers to see if he can qualify for that event. And then you never know after that. But I think for Crim at the moment, he's going to continue to go full-time. He's obviously been grinding a lot with these 12-hour plus streams on his end, playing a lot of Warzone, doing some driver sim stuff. So that's my guess on the Crimsix announcement, but we'll have to see tomorrow when his video or tweet or whatever comes out on what the next step is for Porter. So that will do it for this video, guys. Mostly a lot of news around London. I think to circle back, look, I don't mind the moves from London. I know a lot of maybe some London fans are really wanted like Wardy and Beans on the team, and I could understand that London's going a little bit more of an established veteran direction. Again, their biggest problem last year was trying to overcome the lack of composure they would have, especially when they got to LAN. And I think bringing in players that have been kind of in that mix before helps. But I think on the flip side, though, I do agree with the fans. If they aren't bringing Wardy in, that's a little bit of a miss on their side, but it's not like he was in their pocket to begin with. So they were competing with other teams for that signature. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the moves from London. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Who would you have liked them to pick up instead of those players? Obviously, this could be subject to change. This team has not been announced. These are just the current rumors I'm hearing coming out of that camp. As always, guys, smash that like button if you love this content. In the next couple of days, we're going to be putting out a lot of beta and Call of Duty Next content, reacting to some of the announcements that will be previewed this afternoon, talking a little bit about the beta, which I'll get my hands on starting tomorrow and give you my thoughts. So be on the lookout for that stuff. And as always, guys, we will see you on the next one.